Insurrection, sedition, those are the words President-elect Joe Biden used to describe the deadly assault on Capitol Hill on January 6, an assault incited by President Donald Trump and his baseless allegations of election fraud. The attack has left 5 people dead, including a police officer. It was tragic, it was shocking. But as I said on that very day, it was not surprising. When Donald Trump and his supporters like Rudy Giuliani were calling on people to fight back against the criminals who stole the election, or in Rudy Giuliani's case on that very day, to have trial by combat, no one should be surprised an insurrection ensued. And even as the president and his enablers like Republican Senator Ted Cruz, who on that very day continued to try to overturn the election, now try to distance themselves from the violence, does it ring hollow? They can't distance themselves from the fruit of the very poison tree they planted and nurtured for so long. So now what? House Democrats are going to try to move to impeach Donald Trump. Can they succeed? The use of Article 25 to remove him will probably not happen, as the Vice President, Mike Pence, will not agree to it. So will Republicans push the president to resign? And where does the Republican Party go from here as it begins to contemplate a post-Trump era and a post-insurrection reset? To talk about all that, we're joined by Rick Wilson. He's a Republican strategist and a co-founder of the Lincoln Project, which has stood against Donald Trump. Bruce Heyman is the former U.S. ambassador to Canada. Robert Moore is a correspondent with Britain's ITV News. He reported from within the Capitol building literally as the mob broke into that building. It was riveting historic footage. And Annie Bergeron-Oliver, of course, is our CTV News correspondent, currently based in Washington, D.C. Good morning to everyone. And I'll start with Ambassador Heyman. You've talked a lot about what happened in the past week. Will Democrats now try to move to impeach Donald Trump before January 20th?
Evan, I think that's going to happen very quickly. It could happen very early in this week. And I do believe a vote will take place in the House of Representatives, and it should. I think it's going to be a time of accountability for a lot of Republicans to see where they're going to land on this, because that vote will stick with them for the rest of their lives. And even though there's just a few days left here in this administration, I think it's important to call this vote, to hold him accountable for the insurrection that he perpetrated on the Capitol. He has blood on his hands, he has a stain on the country, and he needs to be held accountable.
Rick Wilson, what will Republicans do? Many of them some are resigning, some are trying to distance themselves. Will some Republicans, either in the Senate or the Congress, by the way, many in the Congress, well over about 120, still voted to overturn that election on that very day. What will they do now?
Well, there are going to be 2 groups of Republicans. The ones who go down in history with a black mark next to their name forever, and the ones who, even after 4 years of sycophancy to Donald Trump, make a final decision to stand up for once and say, I can't be with this guy. I can't do this. I have to speak out. I have to vote to impeach. They should impeach him tomorrow. It should be done immediately. And you should put these Republicans on notice that this vote is coming. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid the choice that Donald Trump has left you stuck with. He has incited a seditious insurrection in our own country in an attempt to overthrow a free and fair election. It is an outrage of the highest order. And if these Republicans don't believe that people will remember who they are and what they did at this moment, they are sadly mistaken.
I want to go to Robert Moore, and I want to go back to that moment so people remember it, because the footage you had was riveting, and we're going to show it now. You were literally there as people broke into the Capitol building, going through the doors, smashing the windows. We know now many of them are white supremacists. There was a Confederate flag was waved, QAnon, conspiracy theorists. Can you describe what it was like as they broke in, who you saw, and what you saw?
Yeah, we had a very rare, perhaps a unique vantage point, because we were standing with a crowd of pro-Trump supporters just to one side of the inauguration platform, and they suddenly discovered that there was a way up into Congress itself. They went up a set of marbled steps, found themselves in a terrace, and then saw that there was a door and a window that was unsecured. So they broke through that window, wrenched off the door, and suddenly and improbably found themselves in the halls of Congress itself. And so we went with them, filming as we went, speaking to them, you know, in actual time, in real time. And it was extraordinary in this sense that they were echoing the very conspiracy theories that we've heard come from the White House and come from other online conspiratorial platforms. They felt that they were there to stop the steal, as they were shouting. They felt the election had been stolen and that there was a kind of insurrectionary whiff in the air, if you like, not just the tear gas that we'd had outside, but there was more a kind of a sense of almost revolution. And that's why we followed them, tracked them all the way to Nancy Pelosi's office and saw them physically ransack that, tear down her nameplate. It was very striking, not only how they felt that this was a sort of almost a real-time insurrection, but also how they were embracing fully the conspiracy theories.
Annie, you also covered it there. Where was security? This is one of the greatest security lapses anybody's ever seen. You know, we've all seen video of some of the actual guards there letting people in. One of them at least posed for a selfie with one of the insurrectionists. Annie, what has been the consequence of, and what happened to security there?
Well, that's the big question. You saw that police were clearly outnumbered. They were clearly overwhelmed very quickly. And you have officials who are coming out saying they asked for the National Guard. You know, the governor of Maryland saying he asked for 90 minutes to get his National Guard in. He was ready and waiting, but his requests were delayed and denied. You know, the mayor of D.C. says the exact same thing. She doesn't know what happened. She tried to get some more National Guard there, but for whatever reason, that request did not go through. And the thing we have to remember is that this was not something that happened out of nowhere. This protest was planned. They knew about it. It was set up just on the ellipses, just outside the White House. This was a group of people that Donald Trump wanted to talk about. Secret Service knew. Donald Trump spoke about it. You know, so these people were here. They had advanced planning. And anybody who was online also saw the chatters weeks in advance. You know, those far-right Republicans were talking about this event, talking about how to get to the Capitol. They were planning their trip, planning how to get each other there so that they could bring weapons if they wanted to from their places to D.C. So, you know, if people who follow the far-right Republicans online could see it, you have to guess that others knew as well, law enforcement. So that's the big question. There will be investigations. What happened? How did this go so wrong so fast?
And what a stark contrast to the security around the Black Lives Matter protest, which had that just unbelievably heavy presence. Bruce Heyman, let me go back to you, Ambassador. There is now word that the president is investigating whether to pardon himself before charges can possibly be laid, if they will, I'm not sure. Can he do that?
Look, he can try to do anything. We've seen him go to any level that nobody has ever gone before. But look, here's the deal, Evan. This man is going to go and leave in disgrace. He is going to go to Mar-a-Lago, and the community doesn't want him to live there, and they're going to kick him out. He is going to have the banks coming after him for money that's owed. He's going to have the district attorney of New York going after he and his family for lies and crimes committed. He is going to have lawsuits all over the place. He is going to be a pariah among Republicans because they're not going to want to be near him. So whether or not he is pardoned for criminal offenses that he committed while being president, and he can exempt himself from the federal crimes that he clearly did, that I think that he's going to have so much heat on him that it doesn't really matter. I think he's in a really tough way right now.
Rick Wilson, I'm intrigued. First of all, he may try to pardon himself. I'm not sure, but you know, this party has been the party of Trump for a long time. That's what you as a Republican left at, Rick Wilson. So I'm just trying, what do you think the future for Donald Trump? And by the way, his daughter Ivanka, Don Jr., they are there. They say they still have tens of millions of supporters. Not, they say, not the folks that stormed Capitol Hill, but the others. What happens to the Trump family and their role in the Republican Party going forward?
Oh, I think Bruce is exactly right. Donald Trump is in for a world of hurt. He is going to be in court for the rest of his life. He will not have a single day of rest from the possibility of prosecutions, both for his role, his acts as president, his acts before that. He will never have an easy moment. Now, I do think the children of Donald Trump are all politically ambitious. They have a giant mailing list. It's incredibly politically effective. Ivanka Trump is planning to run for U.S. Senate against Marco Rubio in Florida in 2022. Don Jr. wants to run for office, whether for president or something else. They're all ambitious. They've got a big cohort, and in a Republican primary, that would still be a powerful name to have on your side. But Donald Trump himself is going to absolutely be in his future is misery and in every possible dimension. And, you hate to see it.
Finally, Robert, I'll just leave this with you. The rest of the world was reacting to this with horror as the U.S. Capitol, much of it from your own footage. What has been the international reaction, and has there been damage to the U.S. reputation?
I think that's right. I mean, to use that great marketing term, there is a deep kind of reputational damage to the American brand in this. So many people around the world always look to the United States not as the perfect democracy, but as a stable democracy. And I think the images and the footage that we filmed of that mob entering Capitol Hill there really has shaken that. They recognize that actually democracy is a great deal more fragile than perhaps we think, particularly if America's political divisions are so amplified by the echo chamber in which the people that we saw operate in. It's certainly true that they can put up a 7-foot fence around the Capitol Hill complex and they can try and secure the inauguration. But nevertheless, the conspiracy theories that we heard, the ones that are out there across America, they cannot be fenced off. And this is a problem that will go long beyond Joe Biden's inauguration at noon on January the 20th.
Absolutely. I got to leave it there, but you're absolutely right. This story is far from over. Ambassador Bruce Heyman, Rick Wilson from the Lincoln Project, Robert Moore from ITV News, and of course our very own CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver. Great to have the four of you here this morning. Thank you so much.